Hello and welcome to Quilt Addicts Anonymous. I'm Stephanie Soebbing. It is Quiltmas in July, so we are bringing you a bunch of tutorials that feature projects that are either holiday themed or you can make as gifts that are fast and inexpensive for you to make, so that way you have plenty of time to get it done before this holiday season. Our next couple of videos are going to focus on quilting, and so we are going to feature a couple of stencils from Full Line Stencil that have specifically holiday designs. The first one is a string of lights. I quilted this one last year. I think this may have actually been a bonus tutorial for us, and it's just a really fun template. Templates like this I love using because this is not something that I could freehand. I could never freehand quilt a string of lights like this. But if I've got a chalk line to follow, I 100% can make it happen. So it's really adorable, really fun, and I suggest you practice on a practice piece before you get going on your real quilt so you can kind of work it out. But if you need a primer on how to do this, we have, it's like a 38 video series on how to learn to free motion quilt. It's an intro to free motion quilting. We have kits available for you, both for the quilt and for the stencil pack. And what we do is we take 4 basic quilting stitches, and then we show you how to use a stencil to get it down, to get your body to understand the muscle memory. And then we show you how to modify it and freehand the rest of it. And for each block, we're practicing on either a long arm version or on a quilt as you go. And if you're doing either of them, all the blocks together make an entire quilt. So you're not just practicing and having a bunch of things laying around that you don't know what to do with. You will have an actual quilt at the end of it that you can show off and reference your quilting stitches, and then figure out how you can adjust them and combine them in many different combinations so that your quilts always look unique and custom going forward. So make sure you check that out. The course is free to take, but if you want to follow along, you want to grab that stencil kit and also a quilt kit from us. If you get the quilt kit, then you get the pattern for free. But you also could always just grab the pattern and wing it from there. But it's a lot of fun. Check that out if this is something that you're really interested in learning this year. It's really fun to check out and expand your quilting horizons so you can finish more quilts either on your home sewing machine or on your long arm if you want to expand out from just doing computerized and do more hand guided. All right, let's get into the tutorial for a string of lights. We're gonna do a little quilting play-by-play today where we go over how I use this stencil to create a really cute Christmas light design on this quilt. It's a great all-over design that you can use and get done fairly quickly. I got this lap quilt done in an afternoon, so it really goes pretty fast. And I've shown these stencils before using them on your home sewing machine, and today we're going to show you them on the long arm. It can be done. The marking process is a little bit different, so we're going to cover that in today's tutorial. But I also just kind of want to go over this with you as well. These stencils are really awesome. It's the same kind of material that you would screen print a t-shirt with. But instead of pushing ink through, we're going to push a chalk powder through. So if you're going to do this, you're going to need a stencil of your choice and a pounce pad. I used blue for this one because it was going to contrast nicely with both the red and the green. It did get a little hard to see on some of the teal parts, so sometimes it's good to have pink and blue on hand because it can look a little different depending on where you're at in the quilt and also the lighting of the day. But this is really kind of fun. What we're going to do is we're going to come in and we're going to do kind of a figure 8 going around. You're not going to quilt this at once and then do this. It just makes it real easy to go around the little bulb, come around, and then work your way around to the next one. So we're going to cover how to mark all this, how I quilted it, and you can watch me quilt it in real time. The pattern is available as a printed pattern or a PDF on our website, and that's called Retro Tiles. All right, let's check out this quilting play-by-play. All right, so in order to mark this on the long arm, when you're doing it at home on your home machine, you're just going to mark going across one section. So you're going to start in the middle of your quilt and you're going to work your way across marking the entire piece. And you're just going to go straight down the center, one pass at a time. When you're on the long arm, if you did that, it would all come off as you're rolling it on the long arm. So in order to make this work, what I like to do is have an underbed storage container. You can get these at Target. Just make sure the lid is on it and slide it underneath your quilt. And then you're going to want to loosen up your roller, so that way the quilt can lay flat on top of the underbed storage container, and that's going to give you a solid enough surface to mark with the pounce pad. Now, when you're marking with the pounce pad, you are going to be swiping that across, and I like to do it several times so I know that it's transferred, and then I'll usually lift up as well to make sure that it's transferred. If it hasn't, I go and I bang that pounce pad with the plastic cover on several more times until I'm satisfied with the line I have. So you can see here that we have a nice line that has come across, and I can see where I'm supposed to be quilting. Now, each one has these registration marks, and you can see that they are on both sides. So when you're done marking, you're going to match this registration mark with the chalk marking line that you have there. And then I also use the piecing on the quilt to line up to make sure everything stays straight. So like for example here, you can see that I'm ending up in about the same spot as my log cabin strip here as I am here. So that gives me a good guide to make sure that I'm going nice and straight across. So you're going to mark one entire pass at a time, just like you would with if you were doing it on your home sewing machine. The difference is you've got to use that underbed storage container, and you've got to keep scooting that down as you go, so you've got something nice and solid to work with. And then also you're going to want to take a little bit more time in marking, and you're just going to mark as you go. You're going to start at the top of your quilt, and as you roll it back, you're going to do the next row. There's no need to start in the middle, obviously, if you're on the long arm. And I'm just going to keep marking this and making my way down. And your pounce pad should be super saturated like that. You could just see how blue that was. It's because I've used this a lot, and that whole, it starts off white. It is blue as blue can be at this point. If you are not seeing the chalk powder transfer through, it means you need to prime it more. You might need to add more chalk to it. You need to bang it more against a hard surface, because you should be swiping it across. When I first got these, I thought it's called a pounce pad. You pounce it, right? No, you want to swipe it across, and that's what creates the line to follow. All right, so I'm going to just finish marking this, and then we're going to get into the quilting part. And you're going to see that I'm going a lot slower than I typically quilt when I do this. And it's because the chalk powder is not meant to stay on. It's meant to go away. And as I'm actually going over it, a lot of times those lines are going away. So I want to go nice and slow so I know where I'm going, so I can follow the irregular shape, because this is not a shape that I normally do. And I want to make sure that the chalk stays long enough for me to follow it, and that I can follow the shape to get this line. Now, not all of mine ended up turning out looking like Christmas lights, but enough of them did to where it looks fabulous. And in the video here, you're going to see me doing, I think it's my third pass or fourth pass of 6. And so by probably pass 2, I was feeling pretty confident in how this was going, and I had never quilted with this stencil before I shot this video and done this quilt. So that just goes to show you that once you get some basic stitches down and understand the basic movement of your machine, you can take these stencils to really create designs that you would not otherwise be able to do freehand. All right, so here I am. I'm going very, very slow. This first one is very light. So you can see I'm doing that figure 8. I'm not doing that tiny circle on its own. I am gonna swoop around and go all the way to the top, and then come all the way back down, and then finish that tiny little circle. So it's just like a weirdly shaped figure 8, essentially, that you're making. And I found that what I really just needed to concentrate on was making sure that that bottom of that little bulb was fatter, and then everything looked nice if I was able to do that. So here you can see me working my way around the quilt a little more and seeing that process. But I'm just going very, very slow in this. One of my employees was working next to me binding one of our tree skirts while I was doing this. She said that looks like it's going very slow. And I was like, well, I'm just being very slow and deliberate, and I'm not rushing through it because I want to make sure that I'm following that shape. So you can see that I'm like really almost right on that line there. I normally am not. Normally I really don't care so much if I get off a little bit, because at the end of the day you can't tell. But this one, if I'm off significantly, it's more just going to look like a couple of loops and not like one of those twinkly lights bulbs. So I really want to go nice and slow here. So here you can see that that blue, it's not showing up as well when I get to that teal, but you can still see the line. And you can also see too that it really is going away. Like, it is not really showing up. Here, actually, I just did that one wrong. I did the little bulb all by itself, and I did the big bulb, and that one didn't look so good. It did not turn out as very well. But that was the only one that I messed that one up on. So that wasn't so bad. But it's really kind of nice because here you can see I'm kind of getting to the end of that first pass. So I'm doing this last bulb here, and then we're going to move on to the next one. And it really just flows right in, and is really it's a fun way to do it. It's a nice all over stencil, and so you can really cover a lot of ground really quickly and really dress up and make a holiday quilt very festive. I just use white for everything. I use white a lot because it blends really well. Like, you can see it in the background here, but it's not like overwhelmingly like gross and icky. You might want to practice on a practice fat quarter before you do it though, because if you're like going straight into really dark stuff like this and you're not as confident, it's probably not going to look as awesome. Like this one here doesn't look so much like a bulb, but enough of these other ones do to where it is just fine. All right, well, I'm just going to let you watch me quilt, because really it's just a nice little loop-de-loop to connect your bulbs, and you just want to go nice and slow and follow it. And then you're doing that sort of weird looking figure 8, doing the best you can to make sure that bottom of that bulb is wider than your tip, and then it will look like a little twinkly light, like the little old-fashioned ones, just floating all around. You got a light string going across your quilt. All right, well, I hope you've enjoyed following along with this tutorial. I think it's a really fun, festive quilt design. We wanted to do this one early so that if you too have a Christmas quilt that needs to be finished before the holidays, that you have a chance to get it. We've got plenty of these in stock right now. We can get more, but we might not be able to get them to you in time for you to finish for Christmas. But let's be honest, there's going to be some of you that are going to say, that's okay, I'm going to have it for next Christmas, and that's okay too. So if you're able to get it in the first stock, great. You can definitely have some time to get this finished. It goes really fast. If you have to wait for the restock, maybe not. Maybe not. We'll just have to wait and see. All right, so check that out. Again, the things you need to do it. This particular pattern is called Retro Tiles. It's available in PDF or printed pattern if you prefer that. At the time that I'm filming this, we have 2 layer cakes available that you can make it. We have Rifle Paper Company Holiday Classics. It's very traditional Christmas. And then we have How the Grinch Stole Christmas. So that one's really fun and cute. And we have the stencil that we are using. It is called, I actually have this upside down. Let's flip the other way. It is called, oh, they didn't print it on here. It's something with lights, string of lights, something like that. It's really fun. We'll put the title of what it is actually called below. And it really is really cute. Like, just look at the texture that's created with this. It's so fun, so adorable, and it goes so fast. And this quilt, like you can see, a lot of the glue chalk comes off just as I go over it. with my long arm, and I did clean that off really well after. But all I've done with this is I first wiped it off with my machiner's quilting glove, and then I took a piece of batting and rubbed at the rest of it to get as much off as I could. You also could throw it in the wash. You just want to double check to make sure that there's no blue or pink left over before you throw it in the dryer, because if there is, you will heat set it at that point. I usually am able to get everything off with like a wet washcloth, and that's perfectly fine. I'm able to get it looking fantastic. All right, so check out all the things, finish those quilts up for the holiday season, and until tomorrow, happy quilting.